Let me take you back to the mid-90s. In those days, it took 6 doctors to diagnose it as Shy-Drager syndrome. Today, it would be a lot easier and called multiple system atrophy, or MSA. We were told that there is no known cause and there is no cure for this autoimmune condition that my very fit father, who was a pilot in the Indian Air Force, now suddenly had to navigate. My father was the only son, an ideal son, the very personification of Shravan Kumar, or Ram. So when he fell ill, my grandfather really struggled and was soon gone. My very strong grandmother, who had been a caregiver to many, now became the caregiver to her only son, along with my mother, who was the primary caregiver. Just like many others in our country, we did not identify as caregivers. Let me tell you some trivia. There is no term equivalent to family caregivers in any of the Indian languages. You will find words like sevak, sahayak, timardar, but none of these are used for these gentle warriors, the family caregivers. I too believed that I was doing what all of us must do as good sons, good daughters, good wives, good partners, good parents. A neurological condition that is debilitating a person day after day in front of you has significant impact on the health and well-being of the patient. The very dignity of the patient and the family goes through social isolation, erosion of their emotional well-being, and loss of financial capability. As of 2020, there are as many as 190 million people in India navigating a variety of conditions that require long-term and home-based care, ranging from aging, mental illness, to neurological conditions like Parkinson's, MSA, MS, MND. These conditions leave the patients in need of care provided mostly by women as unpaid care at home. These gentle warriors are invisible, unrecognized, underappreciated, and underserved, grappling with emotional roller coaster, empathy fatigue, anticipatory grief, ambiguous loss, and are at the risk of mental health challenges themselves. In the 90s, MSA was a rare condition. It took doctors very long to diagnose, and even longer for us to accept. There is a lot that needs to happen between 2 doctor visits, and much of the discussion with the doctor is about the anxieties, insecurities, and fears when the family is actually looking for hope and miracles. It can be quite a task for the caregiver to track and report the symptoms. In today's digital age, it would be much easier with personalized care protocols delivered on a daily or a weekly basis, because it is better to know what to do now than to imagine and get overwhelmed by what might happen by reading on the internet. Palliative care is an emerging field, often misunderstood to be the end-of-life care, and yet to be fully integrated in the healthcare system. My father once started saying, "Beta, I might not be here the next time you visit." I was so overwhelmed that I did not let him finish. Over the last 24 years, I have often wondered what he wanted me to know. I wish someone who knew palliative care had held my hand and explained to me the idea of a living will, supported us through this very critical conversation. Each patient is different, and their caregivers have unique journeys. As was in our home, when my grandmother went through was very different from what my mother was going through and what my brother and I were grappling with. We were all trying to be strong for the others and very alone in our struggles. There was no time to pause and think or feel our emotions. It was difficult to find friends and spaces where one could share. We were not rich enough to be able to afford hired help, and neither were we poor enough to access social support systems. We just had ourselves to depend on. I had wanted my dad to have a wheelchair, but it was difficult to afford one. And today, it would have been difficult to choose the appropriate one. Through the dark days, the only hope would arrive occasionally into our home via post through a newsletter from the Sarah Matheson Trust in UK. It would give us some information, some tips to patients and caregivers, and some ideas of what to expect, and we did not feel alone. Family caregivers need a community of others who are walking through similar conditions so that we do not feel alone and we can replenish our emotional reservoirs. Technology is magical. Today we can order a cab, navigate cities without knowing the local language, deliver groceries in less than 10 minutes, learn skills and have simulated reality for travel and well-being. I do not even need to tell you, imagine. Digital technology can enable personalized, holistic care, from emergency concierge to community learning, financial planning, and e-commerce, all accessible at our fingertips. While modern urban living makes caregiving stressful and burdensome, especially for women, digital technology can help caregivers access time, support, and hand-holding that we need. In fact, even enable gender equality. There is no substitute for human touch, hand-holding, and emotional support of someone who understands, and digital technology can help such compassionate sathis to connect with caregivers and help them create cherished memories. Caregiver Sathi is one such effort to build a platform. Thank you, Rajan, and the organizers and everyone here for creating the space to listen to the voice of the gentle warriors, our caregivers. Thank you.